full video back, just so you guys know. So you guys should be able to see me in that video, red, orange, and yellow guy. So that means I'm the hottest thing inside the picture, but you're not a bridal party, so I don't have to flirt. Last night I had a bridal party. I had to pull it out there. But anyway, we're literally looking for cold spots, just like we mentioned earlier. The blue and the black are the cold areas. So what this guy is doing, I have it set up to where you have a sensor crosshairs, so that way Chris can move the camera around to censor on something that he wants to. But I also left a blue dot on there as well. The blue dot bounces around the screen on purpose. It is literally going to the coldest area in the frame at that particular moment. So it's going to just help guide your eye. He's also going to have a cheat sheet in real time only. It does not display on the actual video. However, the blue dot does, so that kind of helps you along. The bar that you see here on the side is the highest and lowest temperature. So that kind of helps you just, decipher what the colors are going to mean. So you're going to hold this guy all night long horizontally with the camera on your left-hand side so you can watch it. That's the wire side. So even when we stop the video and restart it, I'm going to have you make sure you start in the same exact position. So we're going to stop the video at certain intervals just because the software for FLIR Pro sucks. It's horrible. So if we record for too long, we lose all footage, and I want to make sure we're not going to lose any footage. The hardware is fantastic. I've even upgraded it to the highest I could possibly go, with it being portable like this without spending thousands of dollars, but at the same token, it is a magnificent piece of work. We're going to be using 2 different cameras tonight. I will warn both camera people, whoever that other person might be, that people do not like to be filmed, and they don't like their cars to be filmed. So kind of keep that in mind. If I say that we're going to be casual, you're casually going to be holding a cell phone, and the other person is going to point their camera downwards. You'll see why here in just a second, because it's very large. So that way it doesn't look like we're YouTubing somebody right in their face. Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. Perfect. Wow, you guys are like super absorbent. Love it. Super absorbent. All right, so the next camera. Let's get this one done and out of the way, so that way we can show everybody what this guy does, since I've already mentioned the cameras. Nicholas is already leaning forward like, ooh, GoPro. So you guys should not be able to see me in this camera. It should be pretty dark in there. I know it's a small viewfinder. Let's turn on some lights. Okay. Yeah. We are working with full spectrum lighting here. So this is light you cannot see with your own eyes. So the point here is that we're going to be able to capture something we wouldn't be able to see with our own eyes. We're also going to be using laser grids with this particular camera, just because this particular camera can see them really, really well. And I'll explain the lasers once we get them out. So Nicholas, this one's going to go to you just because you seem like super anxious. Okay, sure. So I'm going to show you more about this at the first location. Yours is not recording yet, just because I like to save the files because they're so giant. So again, you're going to hold that just by the handle just like that, and I'll show you more on the first stop. Let's get into spirit boxes. We're going to be using 4 different types of spirit boxes tonight. Spirit boxes, if you're unfamiliar, is anybody not familiar with some of this lingo? Okay, and I'll explain it. It's not a big deal. I just kind of like to... I'm not. Perfect. So spirit boxes, again, we can talk to the dead with these guys. We're going to be using 3 different types, but 4 different pieces. So this is going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very fast rate. On your television shows and YouTube videos, it's usually the white noise, and then Zach Bagans tells you the bullshit he thinks he heard and then tries to convince you of the same thing. Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing in real time, only mine are slowed down. You're not used to listening to just white noise all night long, and with the history I'm going to give you, somebody's going to fall asleep. I guarantee it. So I have these slowed down so that way the radio chatter does come through. This is another style, a method that we can use to actually ghost hunt. So, I'm losing your name. Leslie. So, you're going to have an earbud, and you're going to be the only one that can hear this one. So this is going to record the entire session for us. Okay. You're going to be listening for the DJs and song lyrics and commercials. If any of that stuff comes through where you can actually make out what they're saying, we need to know what it is. The reason why is it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history that I'm talking about, or even something going on with one of us. So that happens all the time too. It might be a specific direction, like come back, turn right, those kind of things. It happens all the time. The cool thing about this recording, when you get it back, even though I'm going to be writing down whatever Leslie hears in real time, I'm going to spot check it tomorrow morning and give you about 15 to 20 more markers, whether it's relevant or not. If it is relevant to one of those 3 things, the location, a person, or something going on with one of us, I'm going to tell you why in your analysis and give you a link to verify the information. Again, I'm not here to hide anything. And I will withhold information throughout the tour, so that way you guys have a genuine experience and I'm not giving you subliminal messages. So again, I'm going to show you, I'm going to plug in the earbud for you. Most people just keep one in. and that way you can listen to me at the same time and back and forth, and you can play with the volume all you want to.
Okay.
Because this is going to record just the radio sweeps at a nice even level. So you play with it however you want.
Okay.
As soon as it wants to decide it wants to start recording, wow, it's going all over the place already. There we go. So your volume button is not the button, it's the wheel next to it. So you'll have to, it's a little bit inlaid, so you have to kind of feel for it, and there's a twist tie on the earphones. So I do have 2 of these. This one is not going to record, so we'll have to rely on the person who's using it to be able to tell us what's going on with it. Who wants to take it? He's like, yeah, I'll take that one. Cool. I love when people slow down, like, well, what the hell's going on there?
Yeah.
You guys joined the weird tour of the night, just so you guys know. We're the annoying group to all the other tours.
You said you do your investigations yourself. Like, when you see it on TV, of course, they have, like...
Teams.
Yes.
So I usually have somebody with me.
Okay.
At least one person. There's not many spaces that I've been to where I've been just me. But again, if I see a crazy cemetery or old ruin somewhere, I'm pulling over. So, again, your volume is right here at the top. It's the wheel. You'll just have to undo the zip tie from there. All right. Let's continue with spirit boxes. This one is going to be a lot different. This is not one we actually listen to. It's going to work and act as an obulus. If you've seen those on TV, it kind of gives us a word in the center of the screen. An obulus, the device you guys see on TV, has over 2,000 terms in it. The one we're going to use tonight has over 9,000 terms in it. So again, let me kind of explain what this guy is. So a word from time to time will show up right there in the center of the screen. This is a phone app. It's going to save all the words to a list. Last night's tour had 76 terms show up in a 2-hour time frame. That's been about average lately. 80% of what comes up on this thing doesn't mean anything. It's BS. It's meant to be a game and a hoax. So, however, it's the other 5 to 20% that's going to be relevant. I'm going to tell you why and give you the link. You're going to get the full list back because sometimes it's relevant to you because of somebody you brought with you and you didn't tell us what was going on with that word. So I give you the whole list in case you need a personal experience that you didn't want to share. So it's perfectly fine. So again, I don't want to see every single word that pops up, Kimberly. So I will come to you when I want to see the list. So that way I'm not being interrupted 1,000 times because you're going to get that many terms. I just showed you that there were 76 terms from last night. I'll be interrupted 76 times. So nice simple phone app. And all you got to do is watch it. Nice and easy.
You know this. Yeah, you're the word person.
I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. All right. You ever used a millimeter before? Perfect. So millimeter does 3 different functions, just so you guys know. So what this is going to do is it's going to measure electromagnetic fields, EMF. So you guys have normally seen the blinky light ones on TV, and they use those on TV, and I have one for when I have little guys on the tour. You know, it keeps them occupied. They're very sensitive. This is way more accurate. So anything above 2.5 on the big number, I kind of want to know what's going on, so that way we can see if there's a pattern and if it's something from something man-made, like wiring or building or something. The bottom number is going to give us ambient temperature. So in the event Chris finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it pretty quickly. So the last thing that has is it has a REM pod built in. So if you're not sure what a REM pod is, it's a motion sensor. So if something gets close to the antenna, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher it's going to go. So again, it's one of those areas where we're going to use this as kind of a call and answer because there are different colors in there, as I'm sure you can just see. So again, I don't always keep this guy on just because it can be very disruptive as I'm telling you history. So I'll kind of show you more about that on our first location. So those two usually go right in sync. Trying to figure out what to get you, man, because I need the lasers over here for certain. So, neuralizer for Men in Black. None of you are going to remember a damn thing when we're done.
I need that.
Lasers. So, David, these ones are going to go to you because they normally go straight to adults. Usually, lasers can get Nick in a lot of trouble. This Nick, not that Nick.
Okay.
So the reason why we're using lasers, especially with Nicholas's camera, is because he can see them really well on his camera. But we're also going to be looking for motion. You can't see the lasers from the pen to the ground until something passes through it.
Right.
So the hope is that we're going to be able to capture something through the camera. If we do, I'll give you the still, and hopefully it's in some kind of depiction of shape or form. We're going to be using two different kinds. You're going to have the green one that I just showed you, and then this red one with the red squares on it. Okay. If we capture something through Nicholas's camera, where something actually stops here, I can actually put it in 3D software and give you the full 3D view of what we caught along with measurements.
Oh, wow.
So that way we can actually see what we have. Lasers, again, get Nick in a lot of trouble. They stay on the ground. Okay. So you always want to keep them 3 to 5 feet in front of you, no further. Gotcha. And then Nick, when you're shooting, so I keep calling you Nick.
No, you're good.
Habit.
You're good.
So you're going to not want to shoot down at them. You're going to want to shoot through them.
Yeah.
So you're always going to, there you go, perfect. So we know what the dots look like on the ground. We're worried about what's going through it. So again, you two will kind of work in tandem. Okay. And lasers are only safe in certain places, so I'll always give you the heads up. The pen has a dot, like a button that you'll have to hold on. There you go, perfect. And then this one has a toggle switch, so you have to be careful so that you don't forget that it's on, so that way you're not flashing cars.
So keep the green on, and if we find something, then we use the red.
No, you can use them both together.
Oh, use them both.
You can use them either way.
Yeah,
the only thing, the only bad thing is you don't want to cross the streams.
Okay.
Like, that's perfect. So you got it.
All right.
But yeah, we can definitely leave them off here because we don't want to disrupt anybody from the apartments.
Okay.
All right, let's see what we can get for you. You get to carry your bag. No, I'm kidding. Let's do it. I'm going to give you an open air spirit box, only because I want to see like how this is going to work. I normally don't put these two types of spirit box in the same party, especially when it's only a party of two. But I think this is actually going to be very unique. The fact that you're going to be able to hear things out of your spirit box, and hopefully it'll come in tandem with what she's hearing. So we'll kind of see how this goes. Again, I'm experimenting all the time, so this should be very, very interesting. So, you have one button to worry about. It's going to work the exact same ways that hers does. You're listening for song lyrics, DJs, and commercials. Your volume button is on the side of the ball speaker. You want to hold it up gently to get some volume. You hold it down. And it's just kind of like it rolls this way. That's it. So not the tapping, hold it. That way you actually get some volume. Obviously, when I'm talking to the whole group, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and turn it down. If you have trouble with it, of course, I'll be here to help. So a lot of people have. We're actually getting ready to replace that item. There's a much newer, upgraded version of that. An SP11 is crazy. It actually runs AM and FM at the same time. So I can't wait to get my hands on that guy. It's on the way. All right, everybody's all geared up. Go have fun. Let me know what happens. Wow, no laughter at all. They were like, really? A couple of $1,000 worth of equipment? We're good to go? All right, so, again, hang on to your questions because I'm sure you all have something going on in your head. Let's talk about why we started here. This is Big John's.
I'm just going to throw something in the
Oh, you're good, you're good.
Sorry.
So, you're fine. Not bothering me, it's your tour. It's all recorded anyway. He'll get the beginning. So, Big John's Tavern. I know it's closed right now, but they're closed on Mondays. So, and it's weird because, you know what, I actually haven't toured on Mondays, like, since I started this. I was like, let me open it up 7 days a week and see what happens. Lo and behold, the past 3 Mondays have been jam full. So I'm like, all right, I guess I better keep Mondays open. So anyway, kind of a good thing because the rain's coming, right?
Yes.
So, Big John, he was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. I will always give you key words for your spirit boxes and slow down on them. So I know I talk really fast because I'm from the north, but when I slow down on certain things, I will say things like 1947 New York Giants. I'll say it super slow so it kind of sticks in your brain. But anyway, this was his bar, and he used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So he has the bartender throw them out. They leave pretty mad and angry. They come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. So Big John sees what's going on. He gets up from the bar. He just starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets hit in the neck, and the bullet hole lands in the wall. So John gets up, after being shot no less, goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor, an ambulance. So the moral of the story is you don't mess with Big John, he'll kick your ass. Second moral is nobody died in that story. What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. So it's allegedly still here. Even after the renovation of the Big Johns we now know, even if they filled in that hole, Big John's blood is still in the building. People that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, headache. We're not recording, you don't have to be super formal.
Oh, okay. I was just
yeah, I know, you're getting used to it, I love it. But anyway, so they tend to get a little queasy or nauseous. Again, these are normal paranormal things. This is kind of your heated warning. This fingers crossed we're going to have some paranormal evidence tonight, right? I don't know how it's going to affect you when we have it. So if anybody has any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately. It is a big deal, and I won't say that I've never had to call the EMTs or paramedics to come and get somebody off my tour, because psychics and mediums, to be honest, usually don't make it through the tour. So we'll just put it out there. So let's get your mind off your own health, because Mark just went, oh snap, what did that sound like? So, we had a big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from another tour, you now do. I know every tour guide talks about it. This is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The mantle you see behind you, the white mantle on the building, also wraps around the front on the East Bay side. They say a piece of that broke off during the earthquake, killed somebody, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. Now, I said apparently and allegedly a lot with that story because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so Mark's not thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, sorry, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. All right, are you all ready to go ghost hunting?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go this way.
Sit over too.
They make like the sweetgrass roses and stuff, like you see them all around the market. So they kind of linger around and see whatever. So there's more cars in here than normal tonight, so we're going to be very brief. I'm going to keep it all right here. And again, this is going to be like a 5-minute stop, but this is kind of like a further tutorial. Behind me is the big red barn. This is where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. Okay, so you can probably smell them a little bit. I'm immune to it. Summertime it gets a little worse, but anyway. History here is really simple, and I do that purposely because when I have larger groups like this, I allow you guys to spread out to get used to your devices before we move on. But again, too many cars in here tonight. People get a little funny. We're going to make this really quick. So the history is this is where we kept horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So my slow down and keyword terms there, milk and eggs and delivery, right? Spirit boxes. This is not television. This is not, is somebody here? Because everybody wants to ask that. It's probably already popped up in your head. If somebody says no to Leslie over here, that means somebody's here, right? So they answered you. We're going to stay away from yes and no questions all night long. There's always a way to reword it, and you're not going to get any paranormal proof from a yes or no question. I guarantee you that. So, let's talk about some questions. Now in this area, when I have my spirit box teams roll around and I say get used to your devices, you ask questions you already know the answers to. Like if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we're going to be looking and listening for the color red. However, most of you guys are using DJs and song lyrics to convey messages back to us, right? The word red might not be available, but fire truck, blood, heart, all three of those things are specifically red. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I would take that as an acceptable answer. However, most of the night I'm going to require 2 happenings from different devices to be able to verify what's going on. Example, Kimberly has the word art on her word list, and I'm sorry, I'm just using names that I already know. So Leslie, is it right? I'm getting it right? So see, I keep repeating the ones I think I'm going to get wrong. So Leslie, here's the number 40. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You guys see where I have to put these clues together? A lot of the night I'm going to say that's pretty vague, let's wait for another clue, or that could lead into something. Let's keep going. So again, we're going to be dealing with people from the 17 and 1800s, lots of Charleses, lots of Georges, a lot of common names. So we need to know who the hell we're talking to, right? That's just kind of the mentality. I like to give everybody that brief scenario first and foremost. So, I think that, and normally you would listen also, like what's inside the big red barn would be another good question, but anything relatable to a stable, anything relatable to a horse, obviously delivery milk and eggs would be acceptable as well, considering, you know, what I already told you about what this place used to be. Just kind of those mentalities. Let's talk cameras. So, thermal imaging, you're going to try to do 2 things for us tonight. First off, you're going to try to keep a person in view. The reason why is because we're going to be the warmest thing out here. We're going to be 97 to 99 degrees. If somebody's 101 or over, you need to let me know so I can call the paramedics. So, now, the other thing, the reason why we do that is because it gives us the array of color, and it's a lot easier to see cold spots when there's something very warm in front of it, right? So the other piece you're going to try to do, which at times will be impossible, is to try to keep the sky out of view. So people in, sky out. The blue dot will default to the sky because there's no surface. So it's looking for surface temperatures, and that's going to be the coldest area for it. So that blue dot's going to automatically go up. Sometimes it's going to be impossible, but do your best. Nicholas.
Yes.
So I think you guys already have the gist of, when you have your lasers, it's going to be going through it. So what I do want to point out for you is two more things. So when I'm watching this video tomorrow, I'm going to be not looking at the purple dot, so to speak. I'm looking in the darker areas. So I want to see what should not be able to reflect light, because I already know my hand can reflect light.
Yeah.
So if we're getting too close to you, or you're kind of in a little puddle of people, and somebody starts to bleach things out, you can turn off the short range. So notice how my hand doesn't bleach out anymore, because the long range is still working for me.
Okay.
So again, use that at your own discretion. Yep, it's just a red button, and that light is Velcroed on there. It will not fall off.
Okay.
Now point your camera down at the ground for me for a second. I want you to know what the second switch down here does. It is night vision. We don't use night vision because it just draws attention from the other tourists. They already like to poke around like, what the hell's he got you doing now? So we're just not going to draw attention to ourselves and use invisible light that they can't see. You guys will all see it in the video tomorrow. So again, I'm going to give you the cues for the starts and stops on your video. So after our next story at the actual next location, I'll say, let's get your video started. That is the red button right here. It will start flashing. I do want you to try to stop the video after every 2 to 3 minutes, just so we get some good footage, and then restart it again. So the two videos, just so you guys know, they do get spliced together individually. So you have one video for thermal imaging and one full video for full spectrum. So they're going to be in little tidbits. Unfortunately, the full spectrum, no matter what I do, will not be in order. So the thermal imaging, that software allows me to put it in order. This one is going to be all over. So you might get the end of the tour first, and then you might get, so you know what I mean, it's going to be all over the place. All right, so any words have popped up yet, Kimberly, before we move on?
A lot.
A lot.
Okay.
Right now, it's
I want you to hit the little white square next to the word. Perfect. Have you used that app before, Nicholas?
No, I would just watch you do it.
So let me take a peek at these and see what we got going on. Yeah, nothing. So again, she's got probably, 15 terms up there already?
Yeah.
And none of them mean anything. At least nothing to where the two locations that we've talked to thus far, or the next location. Sometimes that device likes to pick up, because you've got to remember, I'm out here 6 to 7 nights a week. It knows the questions we're going to ask. So a lot of times it'll pick up the answers ahead of time. So it'll all right, we're about to go to this space. Let's give them the answers already. So questions, comments, or concerns. The only thing I do need to cover still is the REM pod for you, which we'll do at our next stop.
Okay.
So, all right, let's go deep dive into much deeper history than football players and ponies, right? Okay. Dude, I'm losing your name. Joshua. Joshua. Have you heard anything yet?
Walking away, all I heard was red.
Oh, you heard red specifically? Awesome. You guys will see me whip out a notebook and write little notes down. So just kind of keep in mind, people that park in this lot, they're employees of downtown. Luckily, we have most of the space tonight, which is awesome. Normally, when there's a lot of cars in here, we're limited to the middle of the building space. So I'll ask that everybody stays away from vehicles, no filming of vehicles, no leaning on vehicles. I think we all get it, right?
Yep.
All right, so cool. So let's talk about why we're here. Another beautiful space of Charleston. It's a parking lot, right? Misty?
Yeah.
So this place used to be something. This used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. It sat in the front of the lot. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant over there. It came all the way across, and the servant and slave quarters for the home were in the back of the space. So that kind of gives you the layout of things. Now, who are Charles and Eliza? Well, let me first start off with spirit boxes. You're not going to be getting questions like what color was George Washington's White House, right? So, like what we did with the Red Barn, you're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. I am going to withhold information before we leave. So, Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. Now, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for South Carolina, but you guys are all on vacation and nobody gives a shit about politics. Including me. Kimberly's like, yes, I agree. Let's move on. So, Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So you can ask her how old she was when she got married. I bring this up because Charles was over double her age when they got married. So it's not like 2 and 25, or 12 and 25. They're much different numbers than that. So, but anyway, she married Charles because her father over in England thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his children one last time. Let's be casual with that, Chris. We got a car coming by. And there's only one exit to that place, so just right over there, which is why I brought us this way. I don't know where he's going.
Not the exit.
Yeah, definitely not the exit. I think he's all spun around. Yeah, that's kind of good. Oh, he's backing it up. But anyway, so her father thought he was dying. She didn't want to go home, so she got married instead. This is 1744. There's no such thing as citizenship and marriage, right? Because we're not even a country in 1744. So she did marry him out of love. They were married for X amount of years before he died, and she remained a widow for a very long time. Notice I didn't give you the number of years they were married either. So she was right, because Dad didn't die right away. He starts sending her gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least a few hours. You know what indigo is because you've seen the word somewhere. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue, and only one person is wearing it tonight. How about that? So, that's what we use it for today. She didn't know how to keep it going in our not-so-warm temperatures in the off-season, so she learned from her slaves and experimented with it, then moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant. Calls her dad and says, the rice plantations are going downhill, we can make a killing with this indigo. He gives her some contacts, and we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times. This is something absolutely unheard of, by the way. So let's get into the weird stuff. That's why you guys are all here, right? I gave you her business. Let's talk about the weird shit. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. It's either really smart or really stupid, depending on however you want to look at it. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. That's the only clue I'm going to give you. If you want to find out which Eliza you're dealing with or whoever you're talking to, ask what her maiden name is. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's not here. Then you can ask what year that tragedy happened. I'm giving you a clue that yes, it was a tragedy. The children, I told you there's at least one. Yes, there are more. His name, the first one I told you, was Charles. You can ask how many and what their names are only. The reason I say only is because if we start poking the bear a little too hard, there's a tragedy among those children. She does not want to talk about it, and all activity will stop. Have we gotten any readings at all, by the way?
When we walked from the first place, it just went up to 0.6.
Okay, 2.5 and higher is what I want. So, kind of keep that in mind when you're doing, I'll know if you guys ask too many questions about the kids, because you guys won't hear jack. As far as Eliza's death, ask anything you want to. Ask her how old she was when she died, where is she buried, what did she die from, and what U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Notice all of these questions that I'm handing you, none of them are yes and no questions. They're all very specific answers that I get on a regular basis. So, have fun with this. We're going to spread out in here. We're going to spend anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes in here. If there's a lot going on, obviously we'll stay. I'm not going to end something where it's going really well. And just say, okay, that's it, guys, time's up. So again, if I see like it's kind of null and void tonight, which isn't very often for this space, I'll say, let's cut it short, let me get you the answers so we can move on. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right, so you're going to see me around with a little notebook. Who heard the color red? Was it you? All right, perfect. So I'm going to need to write that one down, and then you heard look in front of you, correct? Nothing relevant yet, so we'll see if something else ties into that. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Lasers are safe in here. Keep them off of vehicles. They will set off car alarms, and I'm usually the last one when we're running away because I have the bag. So
Yes.
again, very, very careful with lasers. Nicholas, go ahead and start your video. Chris, you're already going, which is good. And then spirit boxes, you're already going. So have you heard anything on yours yet? No. It's not easy to do, is it? It's the hardest job out here, them damn spirit boxes. Kimberly, any other words before we spread out?
Photography, racism, machine.
Very interesting on the racism piece, especially considering she owned quite a few slaves. So,
Came up with.
yeah.
Do the green bars and the things in the middle mean anything?
So it is an app. Those are just part of the aesthetics of the
Yeah.
app. It also makes like growling noises. We don't need all that mess. We just need the word list. The reason why I love that word list so much is because it gives me timestamps. So if something's going on and you have something definitely relevant to the story I just told, I know where to look on the other recordings, whether it be video or, because I know that our tour pretty well. So, when I go through the data, everything's fresh in my brain. So it's like I remember we spent an extra 5 or 10 minutes in a space before we moved on. So, go find us some hotspots. Oh, we need to sit back and talk about the REM pod. So everybody else, let's spread out a little bit, have some fun.
We need to listen to this too, so I remember.
You'll be fine.
She's not techie.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
It froze.
Oh, and that camera will do that. So that's why I say we want to stop it every couple of minutes.
Yeah, you're fine. But I have to keep someone in it.
Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha.
You just happen to be the guy closest to me.
I was afraid I was in your shot.
No.
You kept trying to run away from me.
Yeah, just let me know when it freezes up.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like we have any footage yet, so we lost the first minute. That's okay. Alright, so let's pull up your antenna. And on the back of the device, there's a little flap that you're going to lift up. There's a little button. Keep going further down. There you go. This flap is super loose, so it moves. There's 2 little white buttons underneath there. When you're close to the edge of the one on the side, push it into the device. Just be careful because those LEDs are super bright. And you want to push it all the way in. You'll feel it flick. Use your nail. There you go. Almost on. Perfect. Now you're good. Alright, so basically what you just did was you created an EMF field around the antenna. So when something gets close to it, it will go off. There's different colors in the middle. I usually use blue and purple, especially at this location because of Eliza's indigo. I'll say, hey Eliza, make this box go to blue, so that way she knows to go to a certain space and make it go to blue. The red, lock up the camera. Like last night, it was perfectly fine. And before that, that's great. Like every other thing. already on it, dude. Nice little move. Leslie, got anything?
You asking anything? I just went up to 3.5. I just asked Eliza how many cooks she had.
A little bit.
Went to 3.5.
Like fire up, obviously, very specific.
Is it still 3.5?
No, we just went up about now.
Ask her something else.
What happened to the mansion? How did you die, Eliza? Were you murdered? What else am I asking? Let's talk about your kids, Eliza. How many kids did you have? Boys, girls? How many?
Okay.
Eliza, tell us what year and then she wrote it down. Where do you think that all of what year it was? It's this device that I'm holding in my hand. Eliza, can you tell us what year the mansion got destroyed and maybe how it happened? What happened to the home that was once here?
So that camera won't always capture something, just so you know. I only
Right.
get about 4 or 5 pieces per year where I'm like, hell yeah. But if I'm not recording, I won't capture.
Yep, absolutely.
So, when I'm looking for the content video, I'm not looking at these down here. I'm looking at up here. So they have that complication that it could look. Yeah, exactly.
I'll try to show her.
That's okay. Just, even like these in the picture as a reference kind of helps me out when I'm looking for things.
Do you want to switch? Do you want to walk around and see if you get some? Sure. Are you getting anything? 2.8.
What do you got?
2.8.
Okay. Anything above 2.8?
I had a 3.5, and then I asked her how many kids she had.
Okay.
Just for a second, then I went back down.
Writing in the dark is a new skill that's on my resume. How are we doing? Anything else?
Anything else?
Yeah. 20 and he was 40. But that's not right. So maybe she was 20 and he was 30.
It's not yes and no.
I know. Just trying to see if I can get closer. That was obviously
How many years apart were they?
How many years older was your husband when you got married? 30 years older? We're up to 4.8. Not now, but what else to ask? I think she was murdered. I've been asking her about how she died. And I think somebody she knew did it. Look, 3.2. Was it your husband? Did he kill you?
No yes and no.
I know, but I can't. What number was that? 4.7?
I wasn't looking.
How do I look?
You're red.
He said, where are you now? And it said, Jesus.
That's creepy.
A little bit. Well, I understand.
What was her feelings of this place?
So not where my hand is and not the ground. Yeah. You will see it across it.
All right, I'm going to pull everybody over to the side. We're getting little tidbits. I feel like we're getting started here. Alright, so it's definitely turn down your spirit boxes, laser lights, video stopped. So Nicholas, you might want to help her. Where did he go? Nicholas, come on over. Let's go ahead and, can you help her get that video stopped? We're going to kind of take a break here. I want to make sure we capture as much as we can in here, because that thing keeps freezing up. So first thing I like to do is show you guys what Eliza looked like, so that way you guys kind of have a good gist. I know that seems like redundant since you were just trying to talk to her, but this way nothing was in your mind about her. So this is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. That was her maiden name, Lucas. So hopefully, like Lucas actually showed up for us last night. Notice how long, prominent face, like she's very gaunt, but she's also a prominent English woman, has the blue indigo, blue dress for the indigo. Like this is obviously a painting, but again, one of the best pictures that I've found of her where it actually shows her, distinction. This is where you're standing right now. We actually heard the word fire on a spirit box tonight, which is really awesome.
About that, if it burned down, and that's
This is the Pinckney Mansion after the Great Fire of 1861. Somebody did hear the phrase 1600. 1861, 1600. I'm looking at numbers in reverse. So it's a stretch, but I still wrote it down. So we'll kind of see what happens. Every tour guide you're going to meet in Charleston talks about a Great Fire of whatever year it happened in. So this one was a big one. Now, it started at the Harris Teeter grocery store. You guys are all somewhat Southerners. You should know what the Harris Teeter is.
Yep.
I normally have to say grocery store. But it started up there by some homeless folks just trying to stay warm. It got out of control, came down here, did that to the mansion, and then it literally went to the other side of the peninsula. Like, this was a giant fire. So, again, That was almost 70 years after Eliza's death, so she was not alive during that, but we still get answers around it. It's not like she didn't know what happened to her mansion in the afterlife. Let's talk about Eliza's death. So, because fire was probably the most prominent thing that I heard all night, other than we had some pretty decent spikes. We got all the way up to, what was it, 4.8, and then something a little bit higher than that. I wrote them all down. A lot of religious terms came up tonight out of the spirit boxes. Both of you came to me and said, I'm hearing religious phrases. So again, you are in Charleston. The radio stations we have here are going to be evangelical. So kind of keep that in mind. However, they do give me really good phrases like I was explaining to you. So I'll kind of see what's going on, but it does seem like a general theme of religion. And Eliza was very religious. But her death, let's get into that, because that's where things start getting weird. Eliza was 70 years old when she died. That's a long time for a colonial woman to be living. She died in 1793 from breast cancer. We didn't even know what the hell breast cancer was. We're going based off of her medical records. Chris, you can stop your video. You can
Okay.
kind of show.
Okay.
Just start.
You get your phone going. Nicholas, you can get yours going too in here. So you don't want to be basically just shooting me. You want to basically shoot up or down the alley. So you actually have a reading in here? That's interesting just because we don't normally get readings. If we do, it's usually pretty low and it's from the restaurant. So that's interesting. Any names that you guys heard along the way? Okay, anything else?
Old quarantine neighborhood.
Neighborhood actually fits here. So we'll kind of talk about that. Yeah, definitely keep it down here. This is considered a quiet area. So again, this is kind of a brief stop. You see people from the restaurant. So what is this space? When we came across that last crosswalk when the taxi girl went, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So Charleston used to be called Charlestown Wall City. This is one of the very first streets we ever had. So I'd like to bring folks down here because there's a lot going on here. First off, the two buildings that we're looking at, they weren't here. Little tiny shotgun houses. So I'll say this. So I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. You get the same two names every 6 to 7 weeks. Now right now we're in the week 2 to 3 range, so I wasn't expecting the two names, but you just never know. Those two names are Benjamin and John. I know they sound very common, but when I see people live down here, there was only like 5 people that lived down here at a time. So 2 out of 5 people every 6 to 7 weeks. I don't find it coincidental at all. Here's one. You're standing on Belgian blocks. Belgian blocks are made straight from granite. Now you guys that watch the TV shows and the YouTube stuff, you've probably heard the term limestone. Now limestone is straight from the earth, which basically means it's going to stir things up. Anything that comes straight from the earth, like granite, can also hang on to the consciousness of memories. So it's like a movie playing over and over and over again, and on every 6th to 7th week, I'm just capturing those last 2 names. So again, I don't find it coincidental. Every once in a while, I get a third name, Jane. Jane, also 1801. Can I find anything significant about 1801 in Lodge Alley? Nope, sure can. It's part of a great theory that I'm able to prove every 6 to 7 weeks. It's crazy stuff. The Freemasons also had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So we do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons as well. So Freemason, Mason, Brick, Illuminati has shown up here several times, and yes, I chuckle every time I hear it because it's kind of like, really, we're going to throw in conspiracy theories now? So why don't we just put aliens in the middle of my field? But again, we do get things wrapped around those kind of terms and phrases. They did do an archaeological dig underneath these bricks, and they found the people that lived here, some of their tools and clothing and that kind of thing, and were able to classify them as lower class. Here's why it makes sense to me. The other side of the wall would have been on East Bay Street, across the street from where we walked down. The smell of low tide would be coming through here quite often. So, if you didn't smell low tide before, tour I think you guys all have, because we're all at least somewhat close to the coast. It's not something that the rich people in Charleston are going to put up with. Now, if you've been down to the Battery, you notice that the houses are skinny in the front and go long back. There's two reasons for that. First off, they have piazzas, right? The front door, and it keeps the smell of wood pine from coming into the house. They open up the second-story window, get the nice cool breeze, and it air conditions the house. The other reason that they made them skinny in the front was because you got taxed based on how much street side you took. So this way they didn't have to pay as many taxes. I showed you the picture of the Pinckney Mansion, right, where we just were. It was broad up against the street. It's also outside the city walls, which means they're political. They have the money. For them to be able to do that was bragging rights. Like, they didn't give a shit about how much taxes. Pardon the French. They just did. It was a matter of, like, we got the money, we're going to pay it. So, again, this space is very interesting. We do capture a lot of words with the camera that Nicholas is using. Again, it's not every single night left. Yeah, and it is the left side of political, right? So what's going to happen from here as we kind of move along, we're going to go see another alley. However, I can't take you through it like what we're doing now because I've been doing it out. You guys, remember, you're on the weirdo group, so we have the gizmos and the noisemakers. And it is considered residential at the end, which is where tour guides are not allowed to go. However, we still get a lot of evidence from me telling this guy's story on the outside of the alley, and I get stuff pretty much on a nightly basis. It's a rarity that I don't get something, even if it's not caught in real time. It's almost right there in front of me the next morning. It's a very interesting space. After that, we're going to kind of see what's going on with the spirit boxes and let them lead us into which stories I need to tell along the next corner, because there's like 15 stories there. If nothing comes up where I'm like, oh, that's relevant to this, then I'm going to just tell my normal go-to stories. And we're going to deep dive into a female pirate at our last location of the Powder Magazine. So if you're into pirates, like, this is your story. This is crazy, crazy stuff. I don't even like pirates, but after I got booted out of Philadelphia Alley, I had to get rerouted and get my shit done. I didn't even, like, know the story very well, nor did I believe it. So I'll tell you more about that as we move along, because there was something specific that made me believe the story and actually want me to keep taking you guys back there. And I will tell you that the last space is a hit or miss. We either get a lot of evidence or we won't get anything at all. It's one of those areas. And I hate to end a tour like that, but again, if we get a lot, it's a holy cow moment. So it's one of those. We do have people walking through, so let's go ahead and kind of put. We're going to be very casual with our cameras because we're in a very busy area. You're getting a lot of terms, however, most of it is nothing, unfortunately. So, have we heard anything?
Back in the alley at Limestone, just where it was right when we said it. And then, I forget what it said, but some, when we turned the corner, I can't remember what it said.
Okay. Term limestone. Yours is the one recording. That's a very weird thing to hear on the radio, so I would like to verify that. It's nothing, I'm discounting it.
Yeah.
That's not something we would hear on the radio.
Can I do the antenna down here?
No,
Wait,
we're
okay.
still on parking meter ground,
Okay.
so basically any other readings, because it says at 3.8 that I
Right as
recorded.
we were leaving, it went up to 2.0, but after that,
And again, it's just odd, because we don't normally get much down there. Nothing that's, yeah, we definitely want to keep that turned down over here, as far as the open air one mark, sorry. Alright, so, the story behind me is a little crazy. You can see other tours down there. You can't see other tours down there, but we're allowed to tour like halfway, and I just think it's rude that we're going to investigate such a skinny space with a bunch of other 20-person tours down there. That's why I tell the story out here. This is kind of a hybrid between the residual and intelligent ghost. Me talking about this kind of stirs things up, so let's kind of get into it. This is Philadelphia Alley. Easy for me to remember because that's where Eliza's buried. But it used to be called Dueller's Alley. So this is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. We all talk about one specific duel because we can actually prove that it happened, and there's a lot of really cool keywords around this area. So, here's how the story goes. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph. Oh, your battery's low, that's right. So, Joseph Brown Ladd is his name. He's moving down here from Rhode Island because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she has an attorney handling all that money for her, and he thinks the doctor's just after her cash. He's not, but to prove that he's not, he moves to Charleston. So as he's coming into town, the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. He's got a gunman inside the inn where he's going to stay. Somebody walking by with the name Ralph Isaacs. Now I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because Ralph Isaacs' initials match up to where the doctor came from. You guys are ghost hunting with tools and devices. The letters R.I. will show up here. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. However, we normally need that secondary clue so I know who the heck it belongs to. So anyway, Ralph says, hey dude, you want to stay here? There's a gunman inside, he's going to kill you and take all your cash. I got a place you can stay. I got some friends at 59 Church Street, and you can rent a room from them. The doctor takes him up on his offer, and the two become friends. The doctor's practice begins to take off. He's making his own money. He's proving a point. So he becomes known as the Whistling Doctor because that means Amanda's going to be moving down soon, and he's a happy guy. So every haunted city you will ever visit does have a whistler. Ours just happens to be a doctor, just so you guys know. But anyway, him and Ralph go see plays together, but because the doctor makes more money, they can't sit next to each other. So they talk about the plays on the way home instead, because they can't sit next to each other and discuss what's actually happening. The doctor thought the new actress was great, Ralph not so much. Turns into an argument, then turns even worse when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée Amanda back home in Rhode Island. It gets pretty ugly, they go their separate ways. So, making sure other tours aren't being filmed, so again, a little bit more casual. But with that, they go their separate ways, and Ralph is from here, so he has friends at the newspaper. He goes to the paper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and he rebuttals with, we're going to go to Dealer's Alley and we're going to settle this, meaning somebody's going to die. They come down, they take their 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend, he just wanted to make a point. Which is often what happened with duels, so just so you guys know, duels did not always end in a bloody battle of a dead guy being dragged away. Ralph, however, did have his one shot, and he puts it in the kneecap, sorry David, on the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either. But Ralph proved his point, that he's still pissed off and he's going to remain that way. The doctor's friends pick him up and they carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. Remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself from bleeding it out. So, they say as you walk through this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. I invite you to walk down there with your voice recorders on your phones and listen to it later. However, all the locals know the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side, we're going to throw a whistle down the alley to throw you off. We all do it. I do it every single night on my way home. My garage is right there. We end over there. So I have to pass the alley. I do it every single night. If my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. Just, wow, that's definitely not a whistle. But anyway, listen for those whistles. It will be faint. This is one of the most picturesque places we have because look at the lighting down there in the middle of the night. It's gorgeous. I told you that I've been booted out of there. Here's why. At the end of this alley, well, first off, the alley didn't always come all the way through to Cumberland, so there was a wall, right? So it stopped. The other side, the bricks are older than the bricks down here. Those bricks at the other end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. We do have a full handprint, the size of a child handprint, and fingerprints in those bricks. I would always stop to show them off, but told my folks you need to keep moving. I will point them out, but we're all going to keep going. Everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF meter near it or something. I treat that brick the same way I treat a cemetery. That kid's not staring at the brick in the afterlife. However, the night before Thanksgiving of 2020, my group wanted to stop, and the new owner of the mansion at the end of the block came out screaming because we weren't supposed to be there. I haven't been back since. The reason I tell you all of this is relevant is because that was November 26th, 2020. November 27th was Thanksgiving. I did not work. November 28th, 2020, I took my group up to talk about this female pirate that I didn't believe in, and I'm winging it. And I tell my group, we're going to wing it. We're going to see what happens, because I didn't have time to prepare, and they were fine with it. So I take them up there, and somebody hears the number 300 on a spirit box. I have no idea what it means. I'm like, whatever, I'll look at it, just like I told Mom and you tonight. I'll look into it in the morning. I look it up. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. And then somebody else heard her name. So I'm like, damn it, now I got to talk about pirates instead of vampires or whatever else I wanted to go against. So I'm a vampire guy through and through, but I have read so many pirate books just to try to tie this story together because there's too many holes, right? We're talking 300 years ago. So as we kind of go through this, we'll see what happens with, the myths and the legends. Do we have any words that came up on our list? We have Anna that popped up as
Cameron. And when you said we're going to sort through this, it said Sid.
Oh, very interesting. Somebody's listening for sure. Have you heard anything on your end? I know I asked you to turn yours down, Mark, sorry. Yours isn't an always. It's kind of like the lasers. We don't want to be too loud or point people in the eye with it. Where's the other spirit box? Nicholas, what do you got? Have you heard anything? Okay. All right, so as we kind of walk through, Your meter's still going to go off because of the parking meters. We'll kind of see what happens. But yeah, let's go see what the myths and legends have to say. Let's go see what that does. A long time. I do like to point something out before we kind of sit on the bench and chill. The wall behind you, that's where the wall to Philadelphia Alley is. So if you notice in the middle of it, there's a gate. I like to point out the gate. Remember, the alley didn't always go all the way through to Cumberland, so when there was a loser to the duel, meaning a dead guy, they would bring him through the death gate, bring him over the courtyard. It was a shortcut to get to the cemetery instead of going all the way up to Queen Street and coming around. I like to call it the death gate. Remember, the doctor did not pass through there. So instead, his friends picked him up and carried him home. So he did not come through that gate. But it is one of those weird little trivial facts of Charleston that nobody realizes what the hell that gate is for. And it's not just a shortcut to get to the courtyard, it's for dead people. All right, have a seat. We're going to be here for a few minutes. Have you heard anything spirit box wise? Do we have any words? Like, tell me what's going on.
Count, right,
Right is kind of relevant.
vice, shark,
Yeah, nothing. You can stop your recording, Joshua, just so you know. There you go, perfect. Same thing with yours, you don't have to, you can kind of relax here a bit. Nobody.
Sorry.
No, I actually encourage you guys to take pictures. Like, this is your tour. I'm not one of those guys who are like, all right, hurry up, let's go. You know, and again, I don't pay attention to time either. I have no idea how long we've been out here. So we'll kind of see what happens here. So, with the attentive group, I'm probably going to need another bottle of water. Just keep me talking. Let's talk about this building behind you. That's the building with the little crosses on it. First off, those are not crosses. Those are earthquake bolts. If you don't know what earthquake bolts are, it's basically a turnbuckle that goes through the roof of the building. If we have another earthquake, like what we did in 1886, which we haven't, then you can turn those turnbuckles slowly and it'll straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, just doesn't work. The reason I point these ones out is because it's the very first set of earthquake bolts that Charlestown put in. Why? Because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. This is the Gunpowder Magazine. It served in 7 different wars and has never been attacked. The Civil War was its last service. It is a very interesting building on the inside if you're into architecture, because it is constructed in a very specific way. So let's kind of take a step backwards. When we were at Lodge Alley, I did mention the Charlestown Wall. This is where the wall existed, the street behind you. So it went up past the Powder Magazine, just past it, and started going south towards the battery. It was locked into the corners of the wall on purpose. If it gets hit from a pirate ship or Revolutionary warship 3 blocks away, it's going to have a hard time going through the 32-inch thick walls protecting the gunpowder. Let's pretend that it does. It goes all the way through and the gunpowder explodes. There's sand in the roof that will go up in the air with the explosion and fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. Another great idea that doesn't work. And another powder magazine closer to the battery. Obviously, if you know our geography, the peninsula gets much skinnier down there, closer to the water, bigger impact, sand went up, building burned to the ground, no longer exists. That's why I point out that this one has never been hit before. The reason I tell you all of this is because this is a government building. It took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government? Small building, 10 years? 1703 to 1713 is the construction time for this building. Our story actually begins in 1708, right in the middle of it. We are here because this is a familiar ghost. I told you this is a hit or miss. Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town. And this is kind of like using a toy to try to interact with a child ghost. We don't have many buildings this old from the time era, so this is the reason why I like to come back here, not to mention I got the 300 the first time I came here. So, let's go back to 1708. A young lady named Anne Cormack moves here. There's a lot of twists, you guys gotta follow. She moves here with her dad from Ireland. They're here with, she comes with her dad and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. You guys with me so far? Girlfriend's her mom. They're running away from his wife. Okay, how pissed was she? 1708, you gotta get on a boat and get the hell out of Dodge, just saying. So, they land in Georgetown, just north of here, in between here and Myrtle Beach, if you're unfamiliar with our geography. So anyway, they buy a plantation. Mom dies pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to sell anything from the plantation, to keep things afloat. So, back home in Ireland, Anne was kind of a badass. They say at the age of 7 to 9 years old, she killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly. Like, this chick's hardcore, so kind of keep that in the back of your head as we kind of go through this. So this building was finished in 1713. She's familiar with it. 1715, pirates are coming through town. She's stoked. She's about 16, 17 years old at this time. She falls in love. The guy's name is James Bonney. Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. I'm not going to approve either. I got 2 daughters myself. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonney, just like I mentioned earlier. Now, when she gets down there, this is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking, Captain Jack Sparrow kind of guy she wanted. This guy is a privateer, which means he's a spy for the British. He's a coward. This is not who she wants. A few years later, she falls in love again. This is guy number 2. Keep track of it. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. We're going to refer to him as Jack through the rest of the story because it's much easier to remember. So Calico Jack is called that because he wears the jackets of the men he kills. Very dapper young filthy pirate. And she falls in love with him. He's got his own crew, and she wants to be part of it. Girls curse pirate ships. You can't have a female on the crew. He makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. He's the captain. Let's just put it out there. So she's okay with this because back home in Ireland, Dad used to dress her up as a little boy to keep her away from his wife. So she's okay with this cross-dressing bit. So let's put 2 and 2 together, adults. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant. You cannot have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. It's not going to work out. Somebody's going to figure out she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. So she has the baby, comes back with no kid. We have no idea what happened to this child. It's child number 1. So she's also dressed like a girl. This makes Jack pretty angry. Jack just captured another pirate crew, and Anne's going to go flirting to piss him off even more. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a girl dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So, we have 2 females dressing like guys to be pirates on the same ship. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. The 2 of them become friends. She convinces Mary to become part of the crew, and now the 2 are friends, possibly lovers. We'll never know for sure. And the British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to take down 1 pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet muskets. What do you think's going to happen? They're going to get taken. So as they're being arrested by the British, Anne looks at Jack and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hung like a dog." So again, it's one of those, dog will show up here often. The judge, another Chief Justice named Nicholas. Sorry, Nick, there's a lot of us here, man. So we talked about Nicholas Trott over there. This one is Nicholas Laws down in Jamaica. He wants to see the 2 men by themselves after he tries Calico Jack and the men that were too afraid to come up and fight. The 2 men go in front, meaning the 2 ladies. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're girls. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. So, they plead their bellies, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. One last plea to try to save themselves. This is Anne and Mary, by the way. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. This is the trial I told you about with November 28th, by the way, when we were over by Philadelphia. So anyway, he says, fine, we'll delay your hanging. He sends them both back to jail. Dad is still here in Charlestown with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne. She remarries husband number 2 and guy number 4. Because yes, we're going to count Mary Reed as guy number 3. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. I know, very abrupt ending. I'm famous for that. However, Mary Reed died a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. It's probably scurvious and bumpy and gross and whatever else you want to come up with. We don't know if either pregnancy was true. There's a lot of holes in this story. There's 2 things that I left out of this story on purpose for you guys to get started with your spirit boxes. The name of Anne Bonney's parents, that would be the father and the mistress. The name of Calico Jack's ship. These are 2 things that I can prove for certain. Everything else is fair game. Ask whatever the hell you want to. I did tell you at the beginning of this tour that somebody has passed out, and it was relevant to the story. This is the story. So here is how it goes. Back in September, I bring my group back here just like I have you guys, and I always start back here just so the other tours can go up and do their thing, to be stay out of their way. But anyway, the kid next to me, he goes white as a ghost, pun intended, and I pick him up by his armpit, and I take him over to that wall. I send his boyfriend over with a few dollars to get him a bottle of water from the vending machine, and he comes back, he's feeling better. I then tell the Ann Bonnie story that I just told you. After I send everybody out to go play with their devices, they pull me aside. Nick, we have to tell you something. What's up? We are 2 transgender males. I had 2 females dressed as males on my tour, just like Ann and Nick. And it made complete sense to them on why one of them was not feeling well the minute they entered the space. So take that for what it's worth. So when I give you that heated warning at the beginning of our time together, that's the reason why. That is not the first time that has happened where somebody's passed out. Psychics usually reveal themselves after I call a paramedic and have to get them on a stretcher, to get them feeling better. I'm sorry I forgot to tell you. Like, how do you forget to tell me something like that? I need to know this stuff. Like, if something's going to be high EMF, and those were the nights where I've had, like, those 40, 50, 60 EMF readings, and they just can't take it. It's too much. But that, this transgender male thing, like, that was crazy to me. Like, I've never seen anything like that before. Cameras. If you do want to go to the front of the Powder Magazine, you can. The only thing I ask is that you stay out of the way of other tours. You wait your turn. You can put your cameras right inside the wrought iron gates to get some footage of the lawn. That does include lasers. You want to keep the lasers on the ground. If you go up in the air, you're going to be in somebody's living room. This is a very interesting building. Again, we're going to see what happens. If I start to see clues like arising all over the place, you've been fantastic, by the way, so I'm not leaning on you at all. But we'll kind of see what goes on with this area. This is not an area where we get a lot of EMF. You get anything, I'll be excited. The closer you get to the bushes, the closer you get to the parking meters. So keep that in mind. We also have 2 electrical poles on the corners. We will end on that wall over there. So I will go over there so I can set my back down, and then I'm not going to do like follow-up like what I did with you guys at the Pinckney. I'm going to let you guys do your thing, and then I'll round us all up at one time. You guys know what you're doing by now? Yep. Very attentive group. This has been...
We're trying.
What's been interesting, because we're getting little tidbits of things. And the fact that you guys are now swapping devices, I love to see that when you guys are, when you have a larger group of, more than 2 people, where you can swap things out the way everybody gets to try stuff. You guys are trying something new that you've never tried before, so that's really cool. So let's spread out. Let's have some fun in here. Again, cameras and lasers. If you want to go to the front, just wait your turn.
What were the questions?
You want to switch?
Yeah.
Ann Bonnie's parents and Calico Jack's ship. All right, thank you. You got it.
100,000 in January.
Why is it doing that?
Like
Is your hand too close to it?
Yeah.
So this is why I can't do things.
Okay.
Are you going to the front?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk back and forth. If you want to come switch, you can. But you probably won't get me again.
I'm gonna knock that on my hand walking down. Got the camera? No. You'll see it on the camera.
What do you think, man? Did this live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I got knocked out of my hand in the alley.
Really?
Yeah,
Which alley?
the cobblestone. When he's looking down the alley, I was
Yeah.
sitting there holding it. You'll probably hear it, like thudded right out. I had to catch it with my other hand.
Really?
Yeah, I never had that happen before.
Yeah.
Never anything. I was
That's
like,
pretty heavy. So
Yeah.
like, it's got that battery pack on there to give
Yeah.
it some girth.
yeah. I was like, maybe my hand got weak. Maybe I don't think so.
No, you've been pretty, like rock solid with it all night.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap.
Okay, we'll
You know?
see. I'll watch the video.
So,
We'll see
yeah,
what
when you see all the
Yeah, the
flippy
craziness.
flippy. I didn't sneeze, and plus I started getting my sinuses started draining right when that happened. That's when I was coughing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, why am I coughing? Why?
Well, the pollen's super.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah. I washed my car yesterday. I drive a black SUV.
Yeah.
I drove it through the car wash because I'm like, I'm not taking the time to do this myself.
Yep.
Not just for it to get covered. It was yellow again this morning.
Oh yeah. Well, I was taking allergy pills and stuff. I took some before I came because I knew I was gonna be out.
Yeah.
But I don't really normally have very bad allergies.
But this actually isn't the worst year I've seen.
Oh no. I see where everything's yellow. The grounds are yellow.
Yeah. The first year I was here, that was about 10 years ago. I was in Myrtle Beach. Like, that was bad. Like, that was super bad.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was like, what the hell's going on here? Because I'm from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we don't have that shit up there. Like, it just doesn't happen.
When the puddles everything starts running yellow. Like, man. Yeah, when we first moved down here, same thing.
Yes.
Now you said we can go around here, or
Yeah, so you go around to the front, and then you'll see, obviously, the front lawn. You
Okay.
know, and most people that use that camera, they get like 1 or 2 minutes of footage, and then they come right back over just so they can check it out.
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to tell you that. I felt like it got knocked out of my hand. So when you see it, like, do a
Sure.
boom, blah, 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 you know?
Well, I guess back to my original question. Is this what you guys were hoping for?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. When I get people
Yeah.
that have experience in the field, it's not that I'm looking to impress. I want to make sure like there's nothing I missed or, always to improve.
No, yeah, we got some really good stuff in Point Pleasant,
Okay.
West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And we got an actual full figure
Wow.
caught on a cheap night vision camera
Okay.
my son had. And,
Yeah, when
but
you have a full figure.
yeah, and then we tried to debunk it. We tried angles, everything. We
Yep.
couldn't debunk it. And then he got big old 4 scratches down the middle of his back, and we're like, that's the last time.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't like us there.
And that's, when I'm doing most of my investigations, it's not anything dark or malevolent. There's
No.
very few places that I've been to where I'm like, I don't feel safe here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even then, I'm kind of like, I'm still curious. Like, I can't leave kind
Yeah.
of mentality. Like, I'm going to hang out, But, I mean, I use more than just electronics. Like, I'll bring out a spirit board or pendulum and things like that, too.
They're usually attracted to my son. Yeah, so, and probably when I was a kid, too, it was attracted to us,
Well,
too.
where's he at?
He's at home. But yeah, he's one of those people that just, every time we go, we get a lot of stuff. When he doesn't go, we don't get anything.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Bring him next time.
but then he got attacked. So we're like,
Bring him
"Ah."
next time. How's the camera work going?
Getting here. Switch.
In the back, where I have it flipped up.
Yeah.
The button closest to the outside, that little white button, push it all the way in and that turns your antenna on.
Just looking for spikes.
Yeah. Is this what
What's
it's
her name?
supposed to look like? Anne?
You try to keep somebody in it.
Okay. Anne?
So you feel like pointing it to them.
Anne Bonnie was her married name.
So then you try to keep the sky out.
I have Sky out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to the front and put it through the iron bars?
Yeah, there's nothing. Weird music.
Obviously, you guys swapped up again. So Chris, let's start moving this way. They're getting a little bit of footage from the front, and then we're going to wrap this up and kind of give you guys got a lot of little things going on. Joshua and Nicholas, we're going to wrap this up in about a minute. So if you wanted to see the front, now's the time to do it. Let's come right back.
Pretty much sure she's
Am I allowed to sit here? Is that okay?
Get anything?
So 1.5.
Yeah. I was tired and I didn't even get up to, I think I got up to 1 once.
Is the year of the trial. Well, election and voting often show up here because pirates actually voted for their captains. So they had a democracy on the ship. So that's pretty common to show up here. I've seen voting and election show up here before. See why I withhold information? All right, guys, let's bring it all in. Who are we missing?
Josh is coming.
All right. How to give you guys the scoop here. Alright, so I am excited about the word captain that showed up on the word list. I heard about that. I hate to say it, Kimberly, but I am excited that you got a little dizzy and a little nauseous back when we were talking about the transgender folks. And then again at the front of the gate. So you had some interesting terms. You had the word January, which I want to say is Calico Jack's birthday. Don't quote me yet.
And then I just got 1055.
All right. You need to stop listening because I'm running out of paper. 1055. Whew. She keeps hearing the number 50. I think you heard it twice tonight, so that's something significant there. I don't know what it is yet. I at least like to give you guys, and did any readings at all come out of that thing?
1.2.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that. So
Damn.
I'm not Zach Bagans. I'm not going to make something out of nothing. But again, I told you guys from the beginning, I'm going to be very honest. This is about average of what I normally see. So when you guys are focused, I don't feel like we had a skeptic at all. Like, so if somebody's a skeptic and you want to step forward, by all means. But I felt like you guys were pretty all in tune with what was going on here tonight. Your very intense stares showed me that. So that's awesome. I can't thank you guys enough. It's so nice when I have a group like this.